Hello, Future Bestsellers friends. We are going to get some great writing done today. I am actually super excited about today's live stream because I am this close to finishing my self-help book. And while the majority of the writing is already finished, I now just have the resources section in the back left. And then once I get that done, I'm ready for editing and formatting, and I'm so excited. So, yeah. Anyway, so before I just start rambling on, let's all introduce ourselves. Say hi to our friends in the chat. I will start with you, Michelle. Tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
All right, I'm Michelle Schusterman. I write middle grade and young adult novels, and my channel is Writing Workshops, Traditional Publishing Chat, and Writing Blogs.
Thank you so much for being here. As always, we're so excited to have you. And speaking of people we're excited to have, Robert Jones is here. Tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
My awesome channel is The Story Detective, where I take various forms of storytelling and put it under a Sherlockian microscope and break down the craft to make the viewer's journey easier and hopefully fun. See, I added that little fun in there because
I know. I like it, Robert. Robert, I love the fact that your tagline is sort of ever evolving. I mean, you really have like gotten it into like a magical little jewel there. But I love that you're always thinking about it. You're always like, how can I make this a little bit better? I'm Lisa Daly. If you are not familiar with me, I write romantic comedies and nonfiction advice. Speaking of which, I'm going to finish my book today. I'm super, super excited about that. And on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. Yay. You know what's so funny is that I said something today. I had a book coaching client this morning, and I said something to her this morning, and she was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And I thought, I did not put that in the book. I need to like go back. And it was just like a little sort of thing. Like I had told readers to do the thing. I just hadn't, that was like a really compelling reason why. So that's why I had like a little tweak, but I'm excited. I'm super excited. So let's say hi to our friends in the chat. Mary Wimbley's here. Hello. Super glad. She's at work today, so we'll know what happens if she disappears. That's okay. We know you'll always come back. Victoria's here. Hello. Daisy's here. Oh my gosh, we have such a good crowd today. Michael's here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And hi to you. Hello, Devin. We're super glad to see you today. Very nice. Mary's like, I'm already out. We're very glad you came. Cool Gamers here. Cynthia's here. Hi, Cynthia. We are super glad you are joining us today. Avi's here. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Robert and Michelle. Are we still in Temecula, California? So this is kind of funny. My I don't think I knew you were in. Did I know you're in Temecula? So first of all, one of my favorite authors and my other favorite authors are both in Temecula. And then the other thing is, I guess he'd be my cousin. He was my great uncle's son. Was mayor of Temecula for like a million years. Like he was mayor of Temecula for quite a long time. I know, which is kind of funny. Weird story. When I had my baby, my ex was in the military, and I was late. He had a move scheduled at the same time. And I don't know if you've ever done anything with a military move, but it has to be planned for months in advance, and there's no changing it. Too bad, even if you're having a baby that day. So I go into labor at midnight, the night before the movers are set to arrive. And obviously I do not want to and it has to be a family member. That's the other thing. You can't just have like a random stranger there. You have to have a family member to supervise the movers. And so obviously I do not want my mother or my spouse, who should be with me when I'm having a baby, I don't want them sitting around with the movers all day. So my mother calls cousin Ron, who again at the time was the acting mayor of Temecula. And the man put aside his entire schedule at like 1:00 in the morning to come and sit with our movers all day. That was like, I know, right? And that, he was a really good human being. He's passed away now, but was just like a really good guy. Anyway, Mary also working in the background, but here to write as always. I know you were who I was talking about, but I wasn't going to out you unless you wanted to. Tom Bice is here. Tom, you're new, but welcome. We are super, super glad that you are here today.
I am briefly.
Michelle. Oh, see, so you know what I'm talking about.
Wow.
Yeah. First kid late. You know how it is though with your first baby, like you think your doctor gives you a due date. That is the day it's going to happen. That is not true. That's just sort of like a target week. And first babies are often late, so the agony was just like terrible. I remember like being in like a Target or something with my belly like out to here, and some cashier had asked me like, "Oh, when are you due?" And I was like, 5 days ago. It was just brutal. Swinton's here. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Michael. I was like, did I go off the reservation there? Maybe a little bit, but yeah, it was kind of funny. He was a very, very nice guy. And funnily enough, he later moved to Florida. He used to love to tell that story to my, like the first time he and my son met, like when my son was older, it was like kind of cool. Like, this is the man that not made you possible. That would be a different thing. I'm just going to move on now because I dug myself into a hole. Who's got a transition? Oh, Cynthia, that is some kind of miracle that almost never happens. I'm very curious. Are you a person in your life who is always on time, always late, always early? I'm just curious if that has anything to do with it. Avi, I love you so much. So what are you guys going to be working on today? I know I spilled the beans right away. What are you working on today, Michelle?
I am working on one of my books, maybe both of my books, the thriller or the middle grade fantasy. I might like hop back and forth between the two because I can't decide.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Robert, how about you? What are you working on today?
I'm still editing my novel. I mentioned last week I was finishing up the first quarter, which I did. And then I had this chapter at the end of it where I was having trouble with this voice. And I spent like most of the end of the last week trying to get it right. I didn't get the right Monday. I came back to it yesterday and I said, I'm going to tweak this one last time and then be done with it and move on to the next quarter because I think I've done all I can for now. I need some distance.
I feel that. I
Mhm.
absolutely feel that. Yeah. You can just tinker and tweak for 1,000 years and you will never get a book out into the world. No book is do your best, get it out there, certainly, but at some point you have to stop and, send it out there. All right. Well, speaking of stopping, and I don't know, that was not a good transition. Speaking of stopping and starting, let's put up our first timer for our warm-up sprint so we can all get our documents open and all that good stuff. You guys drop a little note in the chat and let us know what you are going to be working on today. I'm super excited. My document's already open. This is how jazzed and excited I am to finish today. I don't think it'll be in the first 20-minute sprint, but it'll probably be in the second one or the third. I don't want to put any pressure on myself. Okay, here we go, everybody. Get started in 3, 2, 1. Let's sprint. All right. How did everybody do on that first sprint? Let us know in the chat. Very, very nice. Miss Texas G says, I used to be late a lot until I married a German. I was never late again.
That's
You,
funny.
what's so funny is that I hate to do anything with stereotype. Like I hate to buy into that. However, I will say my two friends, like German friends from Germany, are both very precise people. Very, very precise. I don't, you kind of wonder, like, does that happen because, like, are Finnish people the happiest people in the world because they have been told for years that they're the happiest people in the world, and so they feel like they have to live up to that? Or, yeah, I always wonder about these things.
A lot of
Well,
culture is conditioning from birth and what's going on around us. That's very true. We can't escape that. None of us can.
right. Well, and that's it. Like, we know what is acceptable or expected, generally speaking, like within our own like social or family groups. So it makes sense in some ways that culturally speaking, like your country or your particular religion or something like that, that there are obviously going to be things that that a lot of people have in common. So I always just think that's interesting because, again, I don't like to buy into stereotypes. And also, I feel like my two German friends, actually one was one of my mother's really close friends. Her name's Rini. And I feel like I admire her so much for her precision in her life. Like, she's precise in everything. And I always think that's kind of cool. I'm more of a freewheeler, as you might have guessed. Avi says, fun fact, I was born at home, so I tell my siblings that I'm the only child mom I'm sure about. Very nice. Very nice. Ms. Texas G is working on a classic movie channel script. Love that. Fantastic. Tell us, let us know if we're pronouncing your name wrong. Go ahead and give us a phonetic guide. I'm going to say Walismo because that's what it looks like to me. But if it's different, please let us know. It's going to be working on editing videos and general content creation, then figuring out some outlines for stories. Very nice. Mary's working on the Hooker book where she's almost late for her own wedding. Love this. This book is shaping up so nicely. Love it. Oh, thanks for the pep talk, Michael. Swinton working on final revisions for book 2 of my PI murder mystery series. I love that. Very nice. Very nice. Fantasy. Good job. All right. Cynthia finishing up 3rd final edit. Yeah. That's great. Victoria's finishing a script. What's Lainey working on? Working on revisions. I'm deep in it, so I keep forgetting to stop while you guys are talking. Chris has got a billionaire romance she's working on. You know what, Lainey? That's okay, honey. We're just glad you're here. You want to keep writing while we're chit-chatting, you just go right ahead. She's so productive. All right. Love that. Devin is, I'm always late. I told my daughter when I pass, bring me in 10 minutes late. There's no need to start being on time even then. I'm with you, Devin. You know what's so funny is that I have always struggled with this. Also, my child that was born 5 days late, also chronically late. But interestingly enough, there is a lot of research that shows that there are some people who do not have a real concept of time, and I am one of those people. When I'm with you, I'm completely focused on you. That's it. You get my attention, but God only knows what's happening out in the rest of the world, which can either be like really appealing if you happen to be the person in front of me, or maddening if you're one of the others that are not immediately in my sights. Maz is editing the unreliable narrator thing.
Fine. Walismo.
Walisimo.
Portuguese.
Like
Spanish.
bellissimo. Oh, yeah. Love. Oh, yeah, right. I feel your pain. Okay. So I am super excited. Let's go ahead, clunk. Let's go ahead and get started with our very first writing sprint. We will come back after the break and answer a few questions. or mini questions, depending on how many we have. If you have questions you want us to answer today, go ahead and drop them in the chat and we'll get to them live while we're here. Otherwise, we will go to the questions that have already been sent in, or if you're shy and you don't want your name tagged, you can always send your questions to me at yt@lisadaily.tv. I couldn't remember the address. I'll pop it up on the thing. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get ready for our first 20-minute sprint. You guys know how excited I am to get this book done today. There we go. Dun, da, da. All right. Feeling good this Wednesday. Let's get those little fingers all stretched out and ready to go. And we're going to get started today in 3, 2, 1. Let's write. All right. I was like deep into the woods with that. I love it when that happens though, when you're like so engaged with what you're doing. I'm sure though I was thinking in my head, like my mouth open, like, okay. So how'd you guys do on that last sprint?
I did good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Very, very glad to hear it. All right. So we had we have some funny little comments here. My mom was chronically late, was born past the due date. Grandma said mom was so lazy she didn't want to leave the womb. I was also late. I don't know if that's like a thing. Maybe it is. Like maybe well, what do you think, Michelle? Do you tend to be early, late, or on time?
I tend to be early.
And were you born early, late, or on time? It does matter too, like whether you're first or second, third.
I'm firstborn.
Yeah.
I don't think I was early. Maybe slightly late, but not like significantly late. I'm not really sure.
Which I was just curious. I don't know that there's any water at all in this particular theory. I'm just curious. How about you, Robert? Are you firstborn also?
I'm firstborn. I don't know if I was late. I think I was relatively on time. And as far as being on time for things, mostly I am. There are times when I will drift into a kind of a casual attitude and be a little late, but mostly I like to be prompt.
Yeah. There are some things that I can manage. I do manage to show up on our live stream on time and also on Zoom meetings on time. So clearly I can, if I set 23 reminders, I can in fact occasionally manage. So this is interesting too. I am also a firstborn. Now I'm kind of curious, right? Okay, everybody in the chat, tell us your birth order. You can just say like firstborn, middle child, last. I'm very curious to know about this. All right, Lainey says my firstborn was born 2 weeks late, still doesn't leave the house when he ought to. Cynthia, middle child, always 5 minutes early. Good job, Cynthia. I bet your mom was so proud of you. I feel like, Cynthia, maybe you were like the kid when mom's like, everybody get ready and wait by the door. You're the kid that was there first, right? Ready to go. Not causing mom any problems. Nice work. All right. Some people consider being on time as being late. I had when I was at Ocean View, the owner of the company was like that. On time is late. He'd say like, let's have a meeting at 9:00. He'd show up at 9:00 or 8:59. And he's like, where have you been? On time is late. I didn't realize this until we were 5 minutes early and everyone was there already. For me, it's rude to be early, right? If someone comes to my house early, I could have my hair like in hot rollers and be in my pajamas still. Right. Okay. Firstborn, 1 day late, I think. So that's like, if you're 1 day late and you're the firstborn, that's pretty much like being early because firstborns are almost always late just because, I don't know, your body. Firstborn, always late. Pretty sure I was born late too. Firstborn, chronically early. My dad was Mr. On Time, was late. My mom was very much with the flow. I think that's probably why. Avi's a middle, but the oldest girl hate to waste time, so I'm always on time. Love that. Devin's an only child and have only one child myself. Love that. Victoria's youngest. I am first. I was on time, and I have a plan. And I have a plan to be on time anymore. Don't have a plan to not be on time anymore. I'm confused about this. What am I missing, fellow authors? I am first. I was on time.
I have to plan to be on time.
Oh, I got it. I got it. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification there, my daughter. Yeah, right? Yes. True. Middle child, always 5 minutes early. I think there's something to that. Yep. Love that. All right, you guys. So, yeah. So interestingly enough, I was having a conversation this week with a reader who had, with a reader of my stuff, not like a fiction reader, a nonfiction reader, who was really curious about reader magnets. And so I thought that was one thing that we maybe would talk about a little bit today. So I'm a big proponent of reader magnets. I assume everybody knows what that is, that you put a little treat in your book for your readers to download. Maybe it's an extra chapter if you're writing fiction, or a prologue, or a wedding scene if you're a romance author, because our readers love any like extra thing you can give them about the couple they totally love. And if you're writing nonfiction, it could be some sort of a tool or download or something like that, quiz, that kind of thing. So I want to know, when you guys are writing your books, are you thinking about adding in reader magnets or not?
Never thought about it.
Not
honestly.
even a little bit. Michelle's like, no way. How about you, Robert? Are you thinking about it or not thinking about it?
This whole book is a magnet for my craft book, and the craft book is a magnet for this. So can't get more magnetic than that.
You can't get more magnetic than that. That's true. How about you guys in the chat? Is it a self-pub thing? It started as a self-pub thing because honestly, any authors will figure out a way to make money from the thing, and they are a lot more willing to try different things. Yes, it is a self-pub thing, but it is also something that has, what do you say, seeped? What's the past tense? Wouldn't be sept. It has seeped into trad publishing as well, where you have a lot of readers that say like, hey, you can get a bonus chapter, or you can get a free ebook, or you can get, this thing or that thing, because they want to get those readers off the page and onto their mailing list. Is it like Easter eggs? It's a little bit like Easter eggs. So the best ones are, I think, kind of like Easter eggs, right? Because there's something that the Newsletter Ninja calls a convertible cookie, that you're basically giving the reader a cookie to sign up on your mailing list. And for her, a convertible cookie is something that is appealing to both your existing readers and your new readers. So it might be something that relates to the world that you're writing in. Like if you're like a fantasy writer, maybe you will give a download of a map or something of your place where your book takes place. Or I could totally see Robert doing some very artsy reader magnets.
Well, I have a couple of ideas for reader magnets for other books. One is an extra chapter, and one is a little short that's almost like a prequel that kind of fills in some stuff before the story.
Love that. Love that. Avi says, I know what a reader magnet is now, but when I first heard the term, I thought, cool. So they stick it on their fridge and never forget about me. Some people do use that kind of a reader or author magnet, I get. Yeah. Love, love, love that. Interesting. So Victoria says, I've never seen that in a physical book, but I have gotten bonus chapters for pre-orders or signing up for a newsletter. Similar concept. They do it in physical books. I tend to, with an ebook, it's kind of easy to do an external link, but with a physical book, it's not so easy, and you don't want your person to have to like type in a big long web address. But I find that QR codes are really useful for that you can just put that image of a QR code in, and I've done it for both physical books and digital books. Stacy said that was my thought, or a magnetic bookmark, so I was confused. I'm sorry, I should have explained it before. I just rambled on with that. So a reader magnet, if you're still not super familiar, is something that you give a reader for free, and you offer it in the context of the book that they are reading, so that you can get them onto your mailing list and tell them about all your other awesome books and sort of bring them into your fan world, which is a nice thing to do. So, all right, fantastic. So let's go ahead and do our next sprint, unless anybody else has anything to say about reader magnets. Hold on just one second. I'm on Cozy Winter Scenes. That's not us. There we go. All right, let's try this again. Da, da, da. All right, here we go. On your marks, get set, get your little fingers stretched. Let's get rolling. We're going to do some spectacularly good writing today. Here we go. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's cha-cha. All right, fantastic. Let me just get that all reset. So, how'd everybody do on that last sprint?
Very good.
Awesome.
Editing hat is definitely on. I'm snipping little things out here and there.
Very nice. Very nice. I've lost our there we go. I've lost our little banner there. You guys let us know in the chat how you did on that last sprint. So I had some really interesting questions from last time. So the question, oh, I don't want to make that a ticker. Hold on. All right, here's our question number 1. How do you go about contacting an author for a book blurb? I have advised millions of authors on this, so I'm happy to just step right in. Yeah, good. Okay. So so as far as contacting authors for a book blurb, you don't want to you want to contact between 4 and 6 authors for your blurbs, because you never want to ask people for a blurb if you're not going to be able to have space to put them on the cover. That's really bad form. So if you get Michael Crichton or whoever, is he still alive? If you get somebody big to blurb your book, but you don't have room to put them on the cover, that is bad. That's an author fail. So don't do that. So 4 to 6 at a time. And you can sort of have a list that's longer than that in case all your folks say no, but at least start with that number. And then you just want to write them an individual email that says, hey, I really love your book X, the history of Sherlock Holmes. I think that that our readers are in a similar, that our readers are similar. I'm sorry, I'm not doing a very good job of this right now. I love your book. I think your readers would also enjoy my book. And I would be super honored and pleased if you would consider writing a blurb for me. And so generally speaking, the author will say, yes, I have time for that, or no, I'm not interested, or no, I don't have time for that, which is if you're an author rejecting a blurb for rejecting writing a blurb for a book that does not sound very good. The whole I'm on super tight deadline and unfortunately I'm not going to have time to do that thing does, that is a good way to sort of let people down. But you should only use it in an emergency. I feel like we have an obligation or a duty to blurb other authors, especially authors who are coming up, if we can, because we all need them. And it's like you got to pay it forward and backwards and all of that. So, and the best way to find author contact information is literally just on their websites. Even pretty well-known authors are generally have some way to contact them on their websites. So that would be my advice for how to get an author. But you definitely want to have read their book that you're, and say, hey, your book X is like my book Y in these 3 ways. And you want to compliment them and say like, hey, I'd be really honored if you do this for me. And you also want to make sure you give them plenty of time, because if you don't, they will not have time to do it. Diane is here with us today. Hello, Diane. We're very glad to see you. Cynthia ate an English muffin. Thank you for sharing, Cynthia. Very glad about that. Anybody have anything else to add on blurbs?
No, I think you covered it great.
Thanks. Yeah. Here's my existential question. Why do we call the thing that goes on the back of the book a blurb, and also the nice thing that authors say about your book also a blurb? That's it's confusing, right?
It is very confusing. I wish you had, I guess it makes sense that the pitch that's on the back of your book and they all go on the back of your book. So
true.
You're right. We need different words.
We do. Yeah. I always will refer to this as the back of the book description or the back of the book blurb versus a blurb, which that would mean like an author blurb. But yeah, I'm like, we're writers. Surely we can come up with another term for those 2 different things. Just one, like a little small tweak. All right. Question number 4. I thought this was a really good one, and it really had me thinking. When was the first time you really felt like an author? So I want to know what you guys think, and everybody in the chat, let us know what it is.
Huh.
He's giving me a hard time. Yeah. So first time you really, really, really felt like an author? Anybody want to
God,
share?
I am trying to think.
Okay. We'll talk about this when we come back. How about you guys in the chat? Let us know, when was the first time you really, really felt like an author? I'm dying to know. And here, we're going to combine these two questions. This is my own question because I'm finishing the book. So all week I've been eating crap, right? And I always have something, like, I feel like I have a snack food that correlates with every book, because like when I was writing 15 Minutes of Shame, I ate like Rolos and those honey mustard pretzels, but I have not had anything like that for this book. For this book, I'm all about the Chex Mix. I've been eating like the cheesy one and like the turtle sweet one, like back and forth. So those are my deadline snacks this time, and a vat of iced tea because I need the caffeine to keep me going. Michelle, what's your go-to deadline snack?
I mean, besides coffee, really,
Are you good? Are you just a coffee drinker? You're not. I think I consume like an extra 8,000 calories a day the last week of my book. This is my just an estimate, but yeah.
If I had to pick one, I would pick popcorn.
Yeah.
That's my favorite snack for sure.
For sure. How about you, Robert? What's your favorite deadline snack?
Snacks can vary, but I discovered outside of coffee, which too much coffee and the caffeine in that can make me feel edgy. But I discovered yerba mate tea, which it's also caffeinated, but it has a different kind of caffeine, and it gives you that lift without making you feel ragged afterwards. So I would recommend that to any writer that needs a boost over energy drinks, because it's natural and it actually has herb. It's an herb, so it's good for you. It's not going to destroy your system like an energy drink would.
I feel like you guys are setting such a good example. That's great. I'm like, here's all the crap I eat. Oh my god. I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Mary asked, it's yerba mate, spelled YERBAMATTE.
Wait, YERBAMATTEATT, like matte versus shiny.
Yeah, yerba mate.
Okay, tea. All right, there we go. All right, I just put it in the thing. Okay, so Maz wants to know, would you say super honored and be flowery, etc.? Not sure if it's a British or neurodivergent thing, but if it sounds overly friendly or fake to me, I'd hate to do. I do hate kind regards, if that gives you any context. So I think you need to be you for sure anytime you reach out that way. But I do think that, first of all, we all know that authors are in fact prone to flattery. Like we're subject to flat, right? We're easily motivated by flattery. Speaking as an author who is easily motivated by flattery, as we all are. So I don't think, I think you should be genuine. I don't think you should say, "Oh, I love your books. They're the greatest thing ever," if you don't feel that way. But I do think that you should express why you picked that person in the first place. And it's not just because, hey, you sell a lot of books. I would also like to sell a lot of books. Will you please put your stamp of approval on my book? So I tend to be flowery, but that's how I am in my regular life. Like I tend to say, I try to tell people like what they mean to me, or why things are, why something they wrote really touched me. Because honestly, that's, I think in many ways why we write is, to tell stories, but also for that kind of that human connection. So yeah. So don't say anything you don't mean would be my advice on that. And be as nice as you can in your brain, because remember, you're asking them to commit a chunk of their time to read your book, which they may or may not like. And then they're committing to say something nice about it if they're able to do that. So yeah. I hope that answers your question. All right. Maz says, I feel like a writer, but not an author, as I haven't finished anything yet. All right. Well, that's okay. Your day is coming soon. Avi says, I still don't feel like an author. I only feel it when I have my first proofread in my hands. Okay. You know, you've written several books, Avi. You should definitely proof copy. I knew what you meant. All right. Mary says, I feel like an author when Newsweek sent me $1,000 check and sent a photographer to take my picture. His next stop was Demi Moore. So in my mind, we were both in his camera at the same time. I love that story. I love that. Absolutely. Love, love. Okay. Mary's got the tea. There's the tea. Tina says, when my first book was coming out, it was an ebook version. Good for you. Love that. My first time that I felt like an author was when I went to New York to meet my agent. I felt like that felt like a very big deal.
Yes.
Very big deal. Because so that was it. And also like the first time you do like a book signing or have your books in a store, that's kind of an awesome thing. I think the first time I like really felt like my first book was nonfiction. So the first time somebody wrote to me that I wasn't related to, like wasn't someone that my mother had, like didn't have a connection to my family or whatever. Like that was the first, I was like, what? Strangers are reading this? What? So yeah. Victoria says, not an author yet. But I first felt like a poet when my high school teacher told me I would win the poetry. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, that external validation. I think that means so much. Good question. Do you need an agent or is that a dumb question? One, no dumb questions ever. And the answer is sometimes. So let's talk about that awesome question when we come back from our next sprint break. So let me go ahead and pull this back up. We are going to do another 20 minutes, and then we are going to answer that awesome, not bad, awesome question. All right. Get your little fingers stretched out, everybody. Here we go. We're going to do one more sprint, and we're going to make this one count. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's cha-cha.
3.
Yay! I am officially done. Yay! I am super, super excited about that. Whew. You know, it's funny
Very
because,
just
yeah. Well, I had planned to finish the book in like early January, but then we had the baby visitor. And so I had not worked on it for quite a while. And I was pleasantly surprised to figure out, like, to realize that I was farther along than I thought. Because usually you've done a lot of the work up here and you get to the actual document and you're like, crap, I'm not nearly where I should be. So so I'm super, super, super excited about that. Yay. All right. So we have a question from Miss Texas G. Do you need an agent, or is that a dumb question? You do not need an agent for indie publishing, and you mostly need an agent if you want traditional publishing. Certainly there's stories of people who have like big, like massive Instagram platform or massive Instagram followers or something, where the publisher will reach out and say, hey, do you want to do a book based on this? But generally speaking, if you want to get in with one of the big five, you're going to need an agent. Anybody have anything to add to that?
Even there are some publishing houses that accept unsolicited submissions. But I think I know all of the big five and most of the larger publishers require submissions to come through an agent.
Yeah.
So you might find a smaller house that would be willing to consider your submission from you and not from an agent.
True. Yeah. Sometimes with smaller houses, they'll take you like on a recommendation. So if an employee of the house will recommend the book, or if another author that's published by the house will recommend your book, then they might consider it. But the great thing about an agent is that they are, they're selling your book. And a lot of people choose to indie publish in the US or in the English speaking countries, but they want someone, they've got an agent that sells foreign rights for them, or, other sub rights. So that's something to consider also. So you don't need an agent, but if you are planning on submitting to Big Five, you're probably going to need one. Hope that helps. All right. Aw, thank you so much. Thank you. You guys are so sweet. Regina says, I'm really enjoying, I can't even think today. Blah, blah, blah. I'm really enjoying your short trip logs. There was a time in life when I would have loved to take the journey. I'm happy you're able to write on the road. Aw, I love that. Michael,
fun.
you're so sweet. Thank you so much. I thought I was going to get it done in the second sprint, but I was like, ooh, I just have like a little bit left. But thank you very much. I appreciate so much that you're going to stay with me until I got the thing done today. So that is very nice. All right. We had Renee is here. Hello. Yes, we are pretty soon. We have a few minutes. Yay. All right. Good job. So quick question. Diane had asked, trying to figure out the best way to lay out what I have so far in my novel so I know what I need. Diane, are you a pantser, planter, plotter? How do you normally lay stuff out? Just curious. I'm like pausing here, like she's going to be like, oh, let me tell you right away. Go ahead.
I would say write down briefly what you have so far on scene cards. To me, that's the best way to put them down and see what might be superfluous or where gaps may be. That's a good place to start.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Michelle, anything to add to that?
Sometimes you guys cover it.
I agree. I totally agree with Robert. I do the same thing. I'm all about the scene cards, or the scene post-it notes, or however you want to make that happen.
Love a note card.
I know, right? There is something about having it's like substantial enough where it doesn't get too banged up when you're moving things around. Like it holds up pretty well. And also I like the ability to kind of move stuff around. And I have tried, like I use Notion sometimes for that, which you can there are similar things where you can kind of move note cards around. Scrivener, the whole reason I bought that was because it had that sort of note cardy thing. However, I still like the old school, like actual paper note card. Like I always do that, but then I always end up, by the time I, sort of get to the desperate middle of the book, I'm like, I always end up reverting back to my old school paper note cards.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody recently about that because they asked me what I used, and I said I pin them up on a cork board, and they said they didn't have a lot of space in their studio or their apartment for something like a big cork board. And I told them I actually went to Walmart and I found a set of 4 mini cork boards, and you can place them almost anywhere. I have them like with those little sticky tabs that you hang pictures on. It's like a mark, and just arranged them on my closet door, and it's like one little cork board per quarter. And I actually, I don't have one nearby, but I cut my scene cards in half. That way I keep it really brief, and I just have the basis of
just the main points,
like 1/4 per little board, and I have it all on a closet door, so you don't need much room, and it's pretty handy and convenient to move them around with little thumbtacks. And
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so funny. I think so. Like, I love that you mentioned like the door, because I think a lot of times in our offices that space is wasted. In my old house, I had these bifold closet, the ones that like fold like that, like close and then open like that. So I had these bifold doors in the closet in my old office, and my crazy Aunt Jerry, who is the person who gave me my very first drill and can fix or make anything. She, during a visit, came and helped me to install, because I had like a ton of windows in that office and this closet, but I didn't really have good space for a whiteboard, which I really needed. And so she helped me to, like, we basically made a whiteboard. You can buy the material at like Lowe's or Home Depot, and we cut them and just attached them to the outside of the doors, so that when the closet was closed, it was a giant whiteboard that was the entire length of the closet.
God.
Right? I know. But you could still open the closet. I know, it was genius. It was you could still open the closet. And in this office, which is actually a really small office, I'm moving the wrong thing. I do have like a big giant whiteboard, which I love. And it's magnetic, so I can put my cards up with I have these little sea glass magnets that I got because it all has to match for my whiteboard. So I love that too. Coffee Life, hands-on paper and pen gal. I like Post-its and note cards, project boards too. Yes. Maz uses Scrivener, note cards and paper. Love that. There was a good question I wanted to answer. There we go. Good one from Renee. How do you figure out your pillars for your social platforms? Will you clarify what you mean by pillars? Since we only have 10 minutes left, I do not want to go on a blab. I want to just let go, and then you go, yeah, thank you very much, that's not what I meant. So if you could clarify what you mean by that, we are happy to answer that question. What do you think she means? Like different topics? That's what I would guess.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good guess.
Yeah, like author life, kind of new releases, maybe what I'm reading, but I could be completely off base. Oh, there you go. Different areas of your life as a writer / author. This is something. So I don't care enough about social media I should care more, but I don't. I don't care enough about it. And obviously that's reflected in my content. I do try to
do a great job.
Thanks. I did really try to create sort of pillars of content on my Instagram page in particular, right? So I talk about, and I did this by using a template so that my Instagram feed looks pretty and organized, but also I have things on a regular basis that I'm talking about. One of them is the latest YouTube video. One of them is like, any free tools that I have for other authors. Sometimes I talk about new releases. Sometimes I talk about what's on my podcast. But I don't know that my strategy is the best one. And I also find that the people who are there for like the podcast, like they want to talk about the new book that I'm reading, or I want to talk about the new book I'm reading, which would be a great way to attract readers, which is what you want as an author. But those people are not necessarily the same people who would want writing advice. So this is something I sort of struggle with myself. So if anybody else has good advice, jump in.
Unless you're like Neil Gaiman, people aren't necessarily coming to you for nuggets of gold. So you could post what you had for breakfast and get more likes and more reactions than anything to do with writing. And then
That's
your
it.
writing channel or your writing platform becomes not about writing, which
Right.
I really don't care for, because I started making it about writing, and it's like, you're talking to other writers and you're going downhill unless you can find a way to keep it interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I think what you said there is really important, because you have to think about who your audience is. So if you have a career where you're writing about how to write books, then it's okay to post that writing advice. But if you are posting writing advice, but you are writing, but you're trying to attract more readers to your group or your social media for your fantasy books or whatever you happen to be writing, then maybe there's a small kind of overlap where people love your fantasy books and they also want to be a writer. But unless you're really big, for the most part, you'll have one or the other. And so I guess I would say, like, just as a sort of general branding rule, that you have to really remember who your audience is.
Yeah.
Maz says, the idea of having to sell myself as a person is way more daunting than finishing a novel or finding an agent.
Yeah.
You know that story about the frog boiling in the water and eventually, right. So the truth is that many authors are horrified by this prospect. I literally threw up after the first time I gave an interview, which is hilarious because at some point I ended up being on television every week for years. And, yeah, I used to like be really uncomfortable with public speaking. And at a certain point, like you just get used to it. You will realize after, like, when it struck me was like when I realized that I often thought about myself in the third person, because just in the context of doing interviews, because I was so used to like sending stuff over to the producer that was like, Lisa Daly is a best-selling author of 12 da 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 da. Like, you so frequently end up talking about yourself, or writing about, not so much talking, but writing about yourself in the third person, that you start to feel like Lisa Daly, the author, is a different entity sometimes than Lisa Daly, the human.
And it's interesting
Which is
what you're saying, how you're shy and then you end up being on camera. And I think that relates back to the previous question a little bit on social media, because so many people are saying they're leaving their YouTube channels, they're leaving social media, taking breaks because they're realizing it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I think when I come back, I'm mainly going to focus on YouTube and maybe a little bit on Instagram. But I think YouTube helps you with that because you get used to being on camera. Make your channel about what you want. Don't follow trends. Don't get caught up in the bubble, especially with authortube, because your writing channel there will not be your writing channel. You have to do something that's going to make it fun for you, do different things that relate to writing, fit it all under one umbrella, and then find a way to do it, because then you'll have practice and getting used to those things, and you won't feel so shy about saying, hey, I'm an author. I want to be in front of the camera. I don't want to be on social media.
Frog in the boiling water. Eventually you get used to it. Just keep trotting yourself out there. Yeah. I mean, there certainly you can be a reclusive author and still sell books, but it's really hard in this day and age to do that. But you do not necessarily have to like be out on social media, even though you're very much encouraged to do all the things. Pick one thing that you like and will do really well. Avi, this is so true for me too. I literally get dressed on Wednesdays.
But I disagree. I'm sure that is actually very cute.
I'll bet it is too. I know, I was thinking the same thing. I think that is yeah. I have posted pictures of myself on my Instagram, like, not that you see the whole thing, but you can tell like I am in fact wearing pajamas because I so often write in that. A lot of writers are like, if we saw pictures of us every day, we're not looking glamorous with a suit jacket on. We are working in our pajamas or our ratty sweatpants or yoga clothes. Yeah. Ooh, Regina, I love to talk about this. Regina says, I think my newsletter failure is based on a lack of knowing what to talk about. My readers normally could care less about the writing process. They just want the next book. That's what you should talk about. You've just solved your own question. Yes, a lot of readers don't care about the writing process at all, except for you to drop a few. Like, think about Marvel, like when they would drop, now there's, I think, a little like fatigue around new Marvel movies. But if you think about, like, they drop a little like hint about this new Spider-Man movie. Ooh, there's going to be a cameo in it, or there's this, or there's that. That's what people who watch those movies, especially people who are super fans of those movies, really want. So if your readers on your newsletter are your actual readers of your book, which it seems like they are, and that is fantastic. That's the exact audience you want to build. Tell them the stuff they want to know about. They want the next book. So tell them the next book is coming. Or, I'm super excited. Oh my God, you guys are going to love this scene I just wrote today. Like, get them excited about that. Talk about other books that you've just read, because if your readers like your books, they probably like other books also. So think about, like, what does a reader want from me? And you're right. It's probably not too much about the writing process. Maybe a little. Yes, right? I know. That's where we all start. And then we all end up as selling little bits of our soul on the internet. So someone will read our books. I know. I feel ya. I definitely feel ya. I never thought about that third person thing. Yes. Yeah. Well, he was already calling himself. So her husband, David Putnam, is a mystery author, and he was also a police officer for many, many years. And a lot of his stories in his newsletter, and sometimes stories especially his new series, are taken from his time on the force. And one of the things is, when he was undercover, he told this story in his newsletter. When he was undercover, because he looks like a cop, he's like a big, tall guy he's like 6'5" or 6'8" or something. He's like this massive guy with just like a cop face. And so they would put him in these like shirts, like Carl the Terminex guy or the Pepsi guy or whatever. So he's been faking his name for a long time. Well, that's going to be the other thing too, right? If you have a pen name, that's a mind thing, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm this person and I'm also this person. Oh, I'm so glad. Maz is like, I think I've circled back to hating kindness regard. That's kind of formal. I don't know. How do you guys sign off on your stuff? I always say all good things, because that's what I wish for you. All good things.
Best.
That's good too. Yeah. That was my go-to before, all good things. How about you?
I used to be just like, take care, folks.
See ya. Oh, you do. You say take care a lot, which, you know what? That's very you. Like, take care, right? That's very genuine. So Maz, find something, whether it's kindest regards or don't fuck with me, whatever it is. Find something that feels like right for you. What would you say? Hope you have snacks. Love, Maz. Whatever. Regards.
Off as ever, and then I just put my first initial R.
Yeah. So I love that too. Like, that almost feels like old school, like, I love that. That makes sense, actually, especially with your, yeah. Yeah, I love that. I didn't know it was supposed to be cold. To friends, I'm less formal. Oh, Avi says, take the island breath because life is
Ooh,
nefarious.
that's
Oh, I
beautiful.
love that. Avi, will you write me a letter just so you can say that? I'm gonna frame it. Like, I love that. That's just so perfect. And speaking of perfect, hasn't this stream been awesome today? I don't know if it's been perfect because we always have technical issues. Thank you to me, but you guys are always perfect and awesome. So I'll just take that. Before we go, let's do a quick outro. Robert, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
My awesome channel is perfectly imperfect, and I take those forms of storytelling in various forms and put them under a Sherlockian microscope. But also, I have done things like going to write in historical places and how to write when I'm out and about and things like that. So those are ideas. Go check them out.
You do have it is a perfectly imperfect. We all are perfectly imperfect, aren't we? It is an awesome channel. Speaking of awesome channels, Michelle, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel before we go today.
Oh, I'm Michelle Schusterman. I write middle grade and young adult novels, and my channel is writing workshops, traditional publishing chat, and writing blogs.
Very nice. Thank you so much for being here. On my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. And I am so happy to have been with you guys today. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And we will see you all next Wednesday, same time, same place. Bye, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Keep those keyboards closed.